Okay, introduce myself. My name is Leonaltus from Economic Education 2018 from Faculty of Economics, State University of Jakarta. I will present about my thesis with the title The Effect of Economic Literature and Advertising Exposure on Consumptive Behavior on the Student of a Faculty of Economics State Non-Polytechnic on University through Jabodetabek for the 2018. So the content of the thesis is the first is the preliminary, second is literature review, research method, result, and conclusion. Okay, the first is the background of the thesis. The consumption activities are activities that must be carried out by every individual to meet needs in order to survive. But in the reality that is happening in today's society is the tendency of students who are final year teenagers to imitate the contemporary habits of consumptive life. This consumptive behavior can be observed by students who voluntarily spend their money to fulfill their wants compared to their needs. And the delivery of the advertisements, which are often manipulative, is very capable of influencing the public. All people must consume advertisement without expectation, especially students who are very close to the mass media as well as modern gadgets. Okay, the second problem is around 70% of 2018 patent students from Faculty of Economics still have high and moderate consumptive behavior. Okay, the first is research question. The first one is, does economic literacy have a negative and significant effect on consumptive behavior? The second one is, does advertising exposure have a positive and significant effect on consumptive behavior? And the purpose of the research is to determine the effect of economic literacy on consumptive behavior. And the second one is to determine the effect of advertising on consumptive behavior. Okay, benefit for the reader is to develop the knowledge and insight about the factor of influence the consumptive behavior among the student, especially. And the benefit or the future researcher is for the result of the study are expected to provide additional knowledge and can be used as reference material in concluding similar research. Okay, next is the supporting theory. The first theory is in the book titled Consumer Behavior from Engel, Blackwell, and Minier. There is a theory of consumer behavior. This one is EBI model. According to the EBI model, consumer decision making are influenced and shaped by a number of factors and determinants. The EBI model shows that the individual differences are consumer resource, knowledge, attitude, motivation, and many more. Okay, based on the advertising exposure theory by Iker, Rajev Batra, and Jonji, on the book named Advertising Management, it is thought that individual consume advertisement, certain feelings and attitude will be created towards the product, which will then direct consumer to buy or use the product. According to Lina and Rochette, factors that influence consumptive behavior are divided into two, namely external and internal. External such as family, advertisement, and the environment, while the internal factors are influenced by the learning process, motivation, and self-concept. Okay, the EBI model shows that situation which is advertisement and knowledge will affect to the consumption behavior. The definition of consumptive behavior. Consumptive behavior is individual behavior caused by factors such as sociological in their daily life to consume improperly or wastefully and unplanned for goods or service that are not really needed. Okay. The definition of economic literacy. Economic literacy states that is the ability to identify economic problem, create alternative solution by considering the benefit and the cost. Okay, the next is advertisement exposure definition. Exposure to advertising is a condition that is affected by the audience by message spread by the mass media, and is also a condition that is affected by film emotion by the light that shines on it. Okay, the variable indicator. The first one is financial literacy indicator. Is understanding of needs, scarcity, economic principle, economic motive, and consumption. Okay, the ad exposure indicator is attention, interest, desire, and action. And consumptive behavior indicator is expenditure behavior, saving behavior, wasteful behavior. Okay, there is such of previous research. The first one is the research conducted by Dewi and Sunarto with the title The Influence of Family Environment, Peers, Self-Control, and Economic Literacy on Student Consumptive Behavior. The second is the research conducted by Solihin 2015 with the title Advertising Exposure Encourage Consumptive Lifestyle of Urban Communities. Okay, the hypothesis is first, there is an influence between economic literacy on consumptive behavior, and the second one, there is an influence between advertising exposure on consumptive behavior. Okay, the research method, the time is from March until May 2022. Type of data is primary data. Type of the research is quantitative research. The analysis that I used is the multiple linear regression, and the sampling technique is a purposive proportional random sampling. Okay, the data analysis technique that I use is the first is the validity test, reliability test for the instrument trial, and the classic assumption test, which is multicollinearity test, heteroscedasticity test, normality test, and linearity test. And the statistic test is the F test, T test, and determination analysis test. Okay, we're going to the result of the thesis. So the number of female respondents in this study were 134 people, and the male respondents were 138. Based on the result of the frequency distribution, that shows that the female respondent has a 49% and the male respondent with a percentage of 51. Okay. The number of respondents from State University of Jakarta is 45. University of Indonesia is 45. From Bogor Architectural Institute has 45 people too. And the National Veteran Development University of Jakarta is 45. And the Syarif Hidayatullah State Islamic University Jakarta as many as 52 people. With the total number of respondents is 272 respondents. Okay, the first one is the validity test. Based on the result of the validity test, all question items on the economic literacy variable, advertising exposure, and the consumptive behavior shows that the instrument can be used because they meet the validity test requirement. Okay, the next is reliability test. Based on the result of the reliability test, their variable of the three variable, the three instruments are used are reliable. Okay. The next is the result of the economic literacy data. Overall, if the total score of all indicators are average, the total will be 58.8. Based on the categorization of financial literacy, it can be said that the financial literacy of the student of the economic faculty of the State University in Jakarta class of 2018 is in the medium category according to the OGK. Okay, the next is the result of exposure data. Based on the table above, found that the level of exposure student advertisement is for the high category is 32, the medium category is 48, and the low category is 14. It can be said that the level of exposure to advertisement or individual interaction encouraged by students of University of Jakarta class of 28 were mostly in the medium and high categories with a total of percentage of 80%. Okay, the next is the result of consumptive behavior data. Based on the data in the tables and diagram, it can be seen that of the 2,272 students who became the research sample, there is 18% who have a low consumptive behavior, 59% who have moderate, and 61 people or 23% who have a high level of consumptive behavior. Okay, the next one is the multicollinearity test. The result of the multicollinearity test of the economic literacy and consumptive behavior shows that a VIF value of 1.02 and the tolerance value is 0.97. It can be concluded that there is no multicollinearity symptom because it has a VIF probability value bigger than 0.1 and a tolerance value bigger than 0.1. Okay, the next is heteroscedasticity test. The result of the heteroscedasticity test is significant value of 0.216 and 0.06. This can be concluded that there is no symptom of heteroscedasticity because it was significant value is bigger than 0.05. Okay, the next one is normality test. The result of the normality test for the financial literacy variable and constitutive behavior showed that the value of Monte Carlo 6 to scale of 0.125. This concludes that distribution of the data is normal because it has a probability value bigger than 0.05. Okay, the next one is linearity test. The result of the linearity test between economic literacy and advertising value is 0.15 and 0.3. So it can be concluded that the variable of economic literacy and the variable of advertising exposure has a relationship with the consumptive behavior because have a significant value of bigger than 0.05. Okay, the next one is multiple regression test. Based on the result of the multiple regression test in the table, a simple regression equation is obtained, namely y equal to 80.7 minus 2.246 x1 plus 0 0.326x2. The constant value is 80 and the regression coefficient is 2 minus 2.246x1 and the plus 0.32x2. The regression coefficient shows that consumptive behavior will be decreased by 2.2.6 with equal additional financial literacy, and consumptive behavior will increase by 0.326 by its additional advertising exposure. Okay, the next one is the t-test. The t-test shows that the t-table is 1.696. Then the value of the t-count is bigger than the t-table. So it can be concluded that the hypothesis is accepted, which means that there is a partial influence of the economic literacy and advertising exposure on the consumptive behavior of the student of economic faculty of PTN through the Jabodetabek. Okay, the next one is coefficient of determination analysis test. The table shows that the table result that the value of R squared is 0.517 or equal to 51.7%. This indicates that the model ability to explain the variation in consumptive behavior is 51.7%. Okay, the effect of the economic literacy on consumptive behavior. Based on the result of the research that has been done, it is found that economic literacy has a significant effect on the consumptive behavior of the student. The result of the study support the statement that from Lina and Rothschild, which explain that one of the internal factors that influence a person's consumptive behavior is the learning process. The knowledge from the learning process is expected to be able to bring students to a better direction, especially in terms of financial management. Okay, the next one is the effect of age exposure on consumptive behavior. Based on the result of the research that has been carried out, the result obtained that advertising exposure has a significant effect on the consumptive behavior of the student. The result of the study support the advertising exposure theory from Iker, Batra, and John, where in this theory, it is said that the process that occurs when the audience is exposed to advertising. Okay, the next one is the conclusion. The first conclusion is based on the result of the data analysis, it can be concluded that financial literacy has a significant effect on consumptive behavior. This means that the higher financial literacy of the student of the Jakarta State University Faculty of Economics class of 2018, the level of student consumptive behavior will be decreased. And the second conclusion, based on the result of the data analysis, it can be concluded that advertisement exposure has a significant effect on consumptive behavior. This means that the higher the advertising exposure for the student of the Jabodetabek, the level of student consumptive behavior will be increased. Okay, the next one is implication. First is theoretical implication. First, economic literacy can change individual consumption patterns to be wiser, especially in terms of managing finance. Students who have good economic literacy will have more rationally based on economic principles. The second one is when a student encounters an advertisement, there will be interest in the advertisement, which leads to find information about the advertisement and buying the product. Sometimes the consumption made is an impulsive process or consumptive pattern based on desire that not a need that cause a pattern of consumptive behavior in students. Okay, next is practical implication. The results of this study are used as input for students and society in general, fixing oneself in consumptive pattern so as not to be entangled in consumptive patterns by increasing economic literacy and being wiser in self-regulation when finding or interacting with advertisement, so as not to easily fall in consumptive behavior patterns. Okay, the research limitation of this thesis is this study took samples from the Greater Jakarta area, which is the center of government and business center, but the student behavior can be different from the other regions. The study has not proven that whether the same result can be produced if there's a sample of respondents from outside the Greater Jakarta area. Therefore, further research is needed using respondents who are more varied in terms of geography. Okay, the next is recommendation. Further researchers are also expected to conduct research on student subject in area outside the Greater Jakarta, because in this study, the subject used as respondent are students in Greater Jakarta who may have different consumption patterns from students in other areas. Okay, that's all the presentation about my thesis. Thank you for your attention. See you next time. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.